This is the presentation formerly known as to ExtremeZIP or not to ExtremeZIP. They'd recently changed the name based on the Acronis buyout. More on that in a minute. So I'm Mike Flender. I work at Co-College, which most of you probably have never heard of. It's in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Small liberal arts college, about 1380 students. One of our more recent claim to fame, if you're into NFL football, Fred Jackson, running back for the Buffalo Bills, graduated from there, played football there. Email, FaceTime, messages, carrier pigeon. Flender@mac.com is my handle to get a hold of me through that, or if you want to follow me on Twitter @mflender. So ExtremeZIP was recently rebranded as Acronis Access Connect. So all the ExtremeZIP features from before, but it adds the ability to access Windows Server files from an iOS, Android, or Windows mobile app was the main change besides the name. So what is Access Connect? It's a third-party application that is installed on Windows Server to allow it to share files via Apple File Share Protocol. How many people are currently running ExtremeZIP in their environment? Okay, so about a handful. So hopefully the rest of you get something out of this, because a lot of my presentation is how I successfully removed it from my environment. It also offers print services, spotlight searching of Windows shares, DFS support for macOS 10.6 and earlier, 10.7, and later already has native DFS support. DFS is a distributed file system for Windows servers, for those of you that are wondering what that is. Macs had issues accessing those shares before 10.7 unless you used ExtremeZIP on your Windows server. So. Brief product history. Version 1 was released in 1999 by Group Logic around the time that Microsoft had pretty much stopped development of their services for Macintosh product that on their Windows Server, but they had discontinued it until after Server 2003. They just kind of left it out there stagnant. Hope it works for you. Probably not. So Group Logic was acquired by Acronis September 2012. The current version is 10. 902 is the oldest version that supports Yosemite officially. And it was renamed Acronis Access Connect at 1 p.m. on 5/19/15. I know that because I was driving to Des Moines to give this presentation for a small group of Iowa admins when this came out, and so I hurriedly had to update my slides. So anyway, server requirements goes back to Windows Server 2003 Service Pack 2, which Microsoft has pretty much ended of life now. So hopefully you're not still planning on running that in the future or deploying on that. But it goes all the way up through 2012 R2. They do note they don't support Windows Small Business Server 2011 Essentials. But also Windows powered NAS, stuff like that. So pretty much anything that runs Windows Server, it supports. Client-side requirements, macOS 10.2.8 or later, so hopefully most of you are off that by now. Print accounting requires macOS 10.3. One of the great things about ExtremeZIP is they've always been great about going way back. Until their most recent release, they went back to macOS 9 still. So, but some of the features, of course, require newer OSs. They have like a little dashboard, what they call a ZIDget, which is a dashboard widget that allows you some quick functionality. That requires 10.4 or later. And DFS and Network Spotlight support require macOS 10.5 or later for that feature to work. So, it's a great product. It performs admirably. It's filled a necessary gap left by Apple and Microsoft for many years. But like many great products, it's also very expensive. So here's their current per server pricing. It's not EDU pricing though, which they don't publish. You're looking at, if you have unlimited clients for a server, seven grand plus maintenance. It can add up quick. For us personally, we first purchased it in 2011 when they were still owned by Group Logic, and they quoted me $23,000 for 3 servers with unlimited clients, which is a lot of money for a small liberal arts college. Alternatively, I could buy a site license for $10,000 annually for a fixed number of clients. So I managed to negotiate it down to $5,000 annually, basically telling them, I love your product, but here's what I have in my budget. And they said, if you can do that annually, we'll work with you on that. So, but that was pre-Acronis buyout, so don't go to Acronis and say, hey, I heard I can get it for $5 grand a year. And so I don't know if they're still that flexible as the new company has taken over and so forth. So, but still, $5,000 annually. If you look at like the life of a server, $20,000 will, buy you some nice new servers for like a VMware deployment or something. So, Apple has made some changes. With 10.7 release in July 2011, Apple added native support for connecting to Windows Server DFS shares, which was one of ExtremeZIP's big selling points. And then at WWDC 2013, Apple announced macOS 10.9 Mavericks. Part of that, they announced SMB2 would be the default protocol for Macs connecting to file servers going forward. It's kind of a big deal. When Apple makes a monumental change like that, I tend to probably prognosticate too much and read the tea leaves. And this to me tells me that AFP is not in their plans going forward. They haven't announced that, but something to be mindful of. So this meant Macs would have improved SMB support, as SMB2 has a lot of improvements over SMB, especially security-wise. And if we had native DFS support and SMB2 access was good enough for our environment at least, your mileage may vary. We'll discuss some speed differences a little bit. Or if you, so if that made it so you didn't need AFP, do you need Acronis Access Connect if macOS 10 client has those features built in now? So I went to my CIO, Tony Beta, and mentioned that if we could get most of our clients to 10.9, we might be able to get rid of Access Connect from our environment. Needless to say, CIOs are enthusiastic about saving money. So the thought of saving $5,000 a year to divert to other needs was attractive to him, and he said, go for it. So set myself to work, seeing if this was truly feasible. Early in my testing, after 10.9's release, we ran into a very ugly bug. If a user changes permissions on a file folder on an SMB2 share from a Mac that's running 10.9 through 10.9.3 client, it disappears for the user. They no longer see it, don't have access to it. It's still sitting on the server, and domain admin can go in and recover it for them, which domain admins love to do, right? So they can recover the item for the person, but obviously it's a very ugly bug that would keep us from removing ExtremeZIP from our environment. And that didn't just affect our environment, it was anybody accessing SMB2 shares with those versions. So I checked each version of 10.9.x as it was released, but there was no fix for forever. I was running up against a timeline of our ExtremeZIP was going to expire, and told my boss we were probably going to need to renew that again. That talk didn't go well, but he told me, why don't you go talk to Acronis, see if they'll sell us a few more months instead of buying a whole year, and they agreed to that. And then finally 10.9.4 came out with a fix for the permissions bug. So Success, kid. We can move on with our lives. Testing. So our first step was to stop the Access Connect AFP service on a Windows file share that was used just by our department. Wasn't a home share, it was just share that we connected to, and that worked and went very well. With the help of my Windows/print admin, we then disabled Acronis Access Connect on our print server, which was just running print services, and enabled the LPR role. Older versions of Windows call it print services for Unix, but basically on our 2008 R2 print server. And magically, all of the queues we had set up on our clients through ExtremeZ-IP continued to work once we set up LPR and turned off ExtremeZ-IP. ExtremeZ-IP was just using the built-in Windows Server LPR services to share those print queues to the Macs. It's the exact same queues. We didn't have to recreate any queues. We didn't have to do hardly anything. So that's a first easy step for anybody looking to remove this from their environment. So other removal steps, obviously uninstalled Acronis Access Connect from the print server. Did require a reboot, and then enable LPR role. This assumes that your Windows print server is only providing print services from ExtremeZ-IP and not like Windows file services as well. But we were able to perform that over a lunch hour with a prior email warning. As part of my planning, I changed all Macs to use SMB instead of AFP for network homes. I'm not sure if this was a necessary step or if they would just fail over to SMB, but I didn't have a chance to test that ahead of time and I was paranoid. So I'll demo that command, but this is the command to change. You can send that out through, Apple Remote Desktops, send Unix command or package it up and deploy it through Monkey or Casper or whatever. But I'll also show you how to check to see if that's actually worked or not in a moment. So we stopped the AFP services on the Windows file servers via the ExtremeZIP administrator application on the Windows server. We were using clustered Windows file services. I don't know how many of you are or aren't. I don't know how many of you have access to Windows servers at all. That's one of the nice things about being in a small environment. I do have access to that. The bad thing is I have access to that, and so I'm responsible for helping with that. I know a lot of state colleges, it's more compartmentalized, but so anyway, Windows file services. So we had to go into the failover cluster manager, and it'll show the normal Windows share, and then it'll show an ExtremeZ-IP version of that. And we just had to stop that particular item and delete it. And that didn't affect any downtime for anybody. It didn't bring down the Windows server or the shares or anything. And that can be done way later after you can just stop the AFP services and you can leave the ExtremeZ-IP installed and so forth for forever. I mean, if you wanted to, until you replace the server. You wouldn't have to do this step, but we just wanted to get things clean. When you have a scheduled maintenance window, then you can remove ExtremeZ-IP from Windows, the Windows servers via add remove programs like you would any other Windows program. So, optionally, for users that were manually mapping drives, mostly people that had a local admin account, sometimes might be their personal machine, but they do a lot of work stuff on it or so forth. We created AFP location files for them to the Windows shares. And those can be copied to the person's desktop, using your favorite tool. 10.9 didn't, the reason I did that is because even though we'd gone to 10.9, 10.9 didn't reliably default to SMB in the connected server dialog. Sometimes it still wanted to do AFP. With 10.10, I haven't had that issue, though it always defaults to SMB. So it was like Apple made the decision, but they kind of hedged a little bit there for some reason, or there might have been something in the client behind the scenes that I just didn't see or know about. But anyway, I can demonstrate how to create an AFP location file. It's crazy simple if you've never done it. SMB2 speed was equal to AFP for small files, even a large number of small files in a folder. But SMB2, if I can talk, SMB2 speed was slower than AFP for copying a really large multi-gigabyte file. So like a 6 gig Creative Cloud installer, for example, it would take like 40% longer in some cases. But SMB3 which is the protocol used by 1010, macOS 1010, Yosemite, it was only slightly slower than AFP for copying a large file. 10.8 clients and earlier are significantly slower over SMB than AFP because they're still using SMB1. So that's something to take into consideration. Access Connect continued to work for 90 days past its license expiration date, we found out, which could be used to buy you some time if you're close to your license expiration. Another observation, there's no way to change an AD password via the connect to server dialog. So if you have local users that were used to using that, that's not an option over an SMB connect to server dialog box. Don't ask me why. But it's a non-issue if your users are bound to AD and they're logging into an AD account. Obviously, they can just go to System Preferences and Users and Groups and change their password there. Browsing icons in list view on SMB shares is pretty slow on 10.8 and earlier. So you'll open a folder, you have it in list view, and you wait a long time for the list to populate. On 10.8 and earlier. 10.9, it did it a little bit, but it was a lot better. 10.10, I haven't had that issue at all. They're just there, just like on the Windows machines, or if you're using an AFP share. The sun is really kicking in there, isn't it? Okay, so whenever integrating Macs or Linux or VMware, anything that's non-Windows into an AD environment, you need to have forward and reverse DNS set up to your Windows servers and domain controllers. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of weird, wonky issues that pop up in your environment. So I just thought this was a good thing to include, since ExtremeZ-IP helps bridge some of that gap too. So Windows will work without reverse DNS through their proprietary magic, even though the right way is to include forward and reverse DNS. And this can be easily double-checked by running NSLOOKUP against the server name and then the IP address of the servers for Mac Terminal. And I'll demo that real quick shortly as well. So we've talked about why you might remove Acronis Access to Connect. Some reasons you might want to keep it is if your clients are 10.8 and earlier, and or speed is really important to the point that you need AFP, because you just second or two difference copying a file just isn't acceptable. You have enough 10.6 or 10.5 clients that need DFS support to your Windows shares. You want the mobile device capabilities of Acronis Access Connect that just came out. The Windows Mobile, Android, iOS access to your Windows shares. The ability to spotlight search Windows shares is important to you and your users. You use local accounts and want end users to be able to change domain passwords with the AFP connection dialog. Or simply you can just afford it and why mess with the status quo. Go ahead. Even if it's after you and I talked about that the other day, I looked into that some more because I hadn't run into any issues personally. And supposedly, as long as the Windows Server share is NTFS and not FAT, that is no longer an issue because of the use of alternate data streams is what Windows calls it. Apple calls it named data streams, sorry. Alternate data streams is what you'll want to look for if you're looking for the Windows Server equivalent. If you Google search that, you'll find more info. 10.6, so SMB connection to server with NTFS formatted volume from a 10.6 or newer client, that shouldn't be an issue. 10.5 and earlier, or if it's FAT32 on the server, it'll be an issue. Okay. Sure. So it doesn't auto remount. Okay, so Peter, right? So Peter, the first thing Peter mentioned, I apologize, I should have repeated his question before, was that you lose data attributes on the PostScript files because Apple would create a hidden piece of the file resource fork and then, the data fork. And so you would lose that on SMB previously because of FAT32's limitations on recognizing alternate data streams. And so a lot of that has been fixed. Whether it's perfect, I haven't run into any issues that supposedly you're not supposed to. Of course, once again, your mileage may vary. Then the other thing you mentioned was that server disconnect. So if he has a share gets disconnected, it doesn't auto remount like we're used to AFP doing, he said. And that's certainly possible. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Okay. So yeah, there's certainly some publishing workflows where this may not be ideal.
I don't know if you have a slide coming up about it, but isn't number 4 a big one? Spotlight
Number
search.
4. Yeah, Spotlight search.
My users are really unhappy.
Yeah, so Spotlight search can be a huge issue for you and your users. Absolutely. I'm hoping that's resolved in a future revision of the OS, but I haven't had a chance to check 10.11 or anything. And I didn't discover it, unfortunately, until after I'd already pulled this out of my environment.
My understanding is that in OS 10, it actually now reads the Spotlight index created by the server. So on a Windows server, I don't know if that's ever going to be fixed as far as being able to Spotlight search that.
Sure.
A third-party tool indexing that server.
Yeah, that was my question, though. Again, I don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But if the user is used to Spotlight, if we get rid of that, they still need to search. So
Yeah.
Are there recommendations on what's the best alternative then?
I mean, you can still file search. It's slower. You're not going to be able to search by content, obviously, like you could with Spotlight. So.
Okay, the speed of file search, though, they said I've gotten reports they're not happy.
Got you.
Yeah, it's terrible stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We run into this issue connecting to SMB shares on a Windows network. As far as I've looked into it quite a bit, and unless you're using something like Access Connect, I don't know of any other tools either that is kind of creating its own index.
Sure.
You're just not going to get it.
So certainly slow file search or lack of Spotlight search and search by content can be a deal breaker for an institution and maybe a reason why you wouldn't want to do that. Absolutely. So when you wouldn't need it, if your Mac clients are all 10.9 or later, and we've talked about the other caveats, so if you're okay with those, If you have pre-10.9 Mac clients but don't require the lightning speed of AFP on those older clients, you simply can't afford it and need to make do. Would be another reason. You don't require the mobile device access that was implemented in Access Connect 10. So, or you already have a cloud file solution that you're using. And you don't have DFS shares, or you do, but your clients are all 10.7 and newer. So, let's break and do a couple of demos. Let's see here. Live demos always go perfectly, right? Let's see here. Oh, these are pretty simple. Okay, so to create an AFP location file, I had talked about that a little bit ago. Let's see here. Let me see if I can. No? That's fine. Sorry, I have like a graphics glitch for text edit. Awesome. Of all the things. I'm going to have to do this. Get that down there. My apologies. Okay, so to create a AFP location file, the nice thing is it doesn't have to be AFP. It still works with SMB. So you can put in a location of a server. You could also append the share if you wanted, and save this text edit document. Or actually, instead of I apologize. Instead of saving it, you would just highlight this text here and drag it to the desktop, and that creates the AFP location file. Now, obviously, that's an ugly icon. You can, just like anything else, replace it with a prettier icon that makes your users happy. So if you do a file get info, in case you don't know how to replace icons on files, you can highlight this, choose edit copy, over here, file get info, and same thing, only we're going to paste. That now looks all pretty for the end user. And then if they double click this, then that will bring up, if they have a Kerberos authentication, it should just log in. If they are a local user, it'll prompt for AD username and password. So anyway, you can, maybe you're a BYOD and people bring their own equipment, but you have Apple Remote Desktop or some other MDM solution you could use to push these to the desktop to simplify things for your end users, just to provide more of a friendly end user experience. So that's AFP location files. So next I talked about DNS for Windows Server, and that looks really horrible. Okay, let's see if we can change our shell color to something more friendly. I apologize. Okay. My apologies. So if we wanted to check to see if our network admins have forward and reverse DNS set up correctly for our domain controller. So let's say we have a server, co-window 1. Whoops. Forgot the DNS lookup. I might be a little nervous today. My apologies. So it'll did I lose my... I lost my VPN connection. Something about live demos? Come on. If that doesn't work, I've got a backup plan. anyway, it should prop up with the IP address of the server. Almost there. Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's correct there. That's true. Yeah. Or not. Yeah. I could copy and paste it.
That's true.
Maybe. Copy. Go to text edit. Command V. So you do an NS lookup of cowinder1.co.int, you should get an IP address. And then if you turn around and do NS lookup and space and then that IP address, it should return the result of cowinder1.co.int. If it can't resolve 172.16.4.209 to cowinder1, then you know reverse DNS is not set up, which is common for Windows admins. It's something they skip because they just don't need it for their Windows stuff. So anyway, that can save you a lot of troubleshooting and headaches. In my environment, it took us deploying VMware to get this fixed. So they're like, oh wait, we do need that. So, that being said, one thing I don't need the network for is to run, let's see here, let me clear off some of this stuff. Let's cancel, text edit, quit. I'll save. Okay, let's get to our other terminal window. Okay, so we had talked about changing the clients to default to SMB via the command line, because that's something that's easily done through our management tools. So first thing you can do is ds config ad minus show, which will show your current type that wrong? I sure did. No space. Oh, there's two C's. I am just hitting on everything. Okay, much better. So if you look here, I'm sorry, dsconfig ad space minus show. That will show you your current AD configuration for the client. And so for this one, it's defaulted to SMB, as you see. If we look right there. So to change that to a different protocol, you simply just type in I think it's just dsconfig for, let's try. I could be wrong. Yep, you're right. Thank you. So obviously, authenticate. So settings changed successfully. So let's trust but verify. And if we go up to network protocol to be used, it's now AFP. Obviously, we'll want to go the other direction, but you get the idea. So instead of AFP, we can set that back to SMB. So obviously, very easy to do. Be easy to do that through Apple Remote Desktop or package it and deploy it with something else. I'm sorry? The client is 1010. Huh. If you're you have to be bound to AD. Yeah, if you're not bound to AD, then it's it won't give you anything. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, so yes, you need to be bound to AD to get this. So I think that's it for my poorly done demos. We'll go back to any questions. They've asked me to have people come up to the mic, but I'm not sure if that will work well for that side of the room. If you want, I can just repeat the questions if there's any more questions, and then answer. Go ahead. Okay, so once you add the LPR role to your Windows print server, and then you go into system preferences, printers, click add, you'll see a list of printers. Normally like the Bonjour printers and everything show up. Your Windows print queues will show up in there as well. And so then you just click it and choose the driver, and then that works well with, like, if your Windows server has print accounting and all of that. Since you're using the Windows print queues, it all just works.
I've heard the version of the Windows server makes a difference. That 2012 might be better than 2008 with SMB. Is that true?
Usually, so the question is, does Windows Server 2012 do a better job with SMB than Server 2008 R2? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that typically with each major revision of Windows Server, they do upgrade SMB. So I could see where 2012 would probably work better because it'd have better support for SMB3. So like if you're going from a 1010 or later client to a Server 2012, the speed should be even better. We're still on 2008 R2. So when upgrading from Server 2008 R2 to 2012, you need to run check disk on the volumes, or else they become corrupt, was the statement. Yay, Microsoft.
We didn't run into that issue. Actually, we found some documentation that says that check disk runs automatically, and it'll actually warn you if it has to do any repairs.
If your server reboots constantly, it will leave you the error message. But if you just upgraded and you're a week into the online on the file system, the volume plug ain't corrupt. I had to spend about a good 12 hours with Acronis to fix it. And then the guy was like, yeah, you upgraded from 2008 to 2012, best practice. Run check this on all your volumes. I was like, okay, it wasn't on your site. But he was like, yeah, that's what you call us, and we'll tell you about it.
Yay, maintenance.
I find out the hard way.
And if you don't have maintenance and paid support, then good luck to you. Any other questions or comments or? Yes, if you follow me on Twitter, they already are. Or if you don't even have to follow me on Twitter. If you search hashtag PSU Mac, I included that hashtag so that anybody could find them without having to follow me. I've shared them both as the full keynote presentation. I've also shared it as a PDF because that's what PSU MacAdmins and Penn State want from us is PDF. So I converted them to PDF and also shared those. And then they will be available also. The conference will be making all the slides available that they've been given about a week from now. And they'll be included in there as well. And then the videos are supposed to be up in about a month. Yes?
Have you ever confirmed what version of SMB you're actually running? Because as far as I'm aware, I didn't think that 2008 supported SMB3. And there is a command SMBUTEL that you can run. It'll tell you what version.
I haven't confirmed on 2008 R2. That's a good question. If we're still on 2 with 2008 R2, that wouldn't surprise me. I also know that Microsoft, when they first came out with SMB3, it was actually called SMB 2.2. So then they decide, well, it's a big enough deal that we're going to give it a major revision number now. Go ahead, sir.
What size volumes are you sharing out in general?
So what size volumes are we sharing out in general? Well, a lot of our volumes were older and didn't have GPT, and so they were limited to 2 terabytes. We've since migrated from a EVA 4400 SAN to a 3-par 7200, and that has been rectified. So currently our biggest share is probably 2.5 terabytes, not real huge.
Files, how many files?
Rough guesstimate would be 1 terabyte, 1.5.
File numbers.
Oh, file numbers that I'm not sure of. I apologize.
Our experience has been that we have some rather large volume, multi-terabyte volumes.
Sure.
And with SMB, you can wait hours before you actually see listings of files.
I know that's a huge deal with 10.8 and earlier.
Well, 10.9 and 10.10.
Okay, and still with 10.9 and 10.10, it's still taking a long time to list files. That's a possibility. You know, I would, if you have a Windows server that you can, you know, it's really easy to go into ExtremeZIP Administrator and stop the service, and then you could go and test against it and see how good or bad it is, or just force it to mount over SMB, I guess. You wouldn't even have to stop the service and test and see if it's feasible in your environment or not. If it's unacceptably slow, then obviously you'll want to make the argument to your CIO that, hey, we need to keep this. So, and obviously I'm a way early adopter on this. I mentioned it was possible. My CIO was like, go, 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 you know, so we did. And I tried to research it. I did my best Google foo. I posted to macenterprise.org, and everybody's like, no, let me know how that works out for you.
To be fair, our searching with ExtremeZIP is a nightmare as well. We actually been using EasyFind
Okay.
to get through a lot of it.
Okay.
And Adobe has told us not to use the built-in find mechanism in the Finder and move towards Bridge, actually doing file management.
Okay.
And that has been successful for most of our stuff.
Okay, so he said he's had some intermittent issues with ExtremeZIP search, and you're using EasyFind to do your file searches, or if it's Adobe products, using Adobe Bridge to do the search. Yes, Peter. Because he had pretty much told his boss that we were going to be saving that $5,000.
So it wasn't done under the assumption that you would test it out. The expectation was you already come out with a finished product or something.
Yeah, it, you know, according to all the Apple marketing, it should have all worked, and I told him I thought it was possible, and a lot of that also was bad communication on my part, I'm sure. I'm sure I didn't fully communicate where I was in the process, and then kind of hit him with this last minute. So improving my project management skills obviously is on the radar as well. It's not his fault, so yes. Yes. Yes, we are using SMB for our network home directories. So far, I haven't had any complaints or issues. It's been decent, but like I said, I got most of our clients to 10.9 before we did that. And no, that's fine. We don't. We've got close to 300 Mac clients, and I'm going to say roughly 600 Windows clients. So not a lot compared to most places. We're a smaller school, so us being a smaller school made us a good test bed for this, I guess.
Have you noticed any difference with network home directories in 10.10?
The speed is better. than 10.9. And 10.9 was better than 10.8, so I'm hoping that trend continues.
Are you working directly off the network, or are you using non-syncing mobile accounts?
Non-syncing, for laptops we use a mobile account, non-syncing mobile accounts, and then for like labs and that, just creates like a dynamic local user and mounts their share. Any other questions? If not, we'll give away some ancient crud here. Let's see here. Oh.
Any Mac client tool which kind of would tell you which SMB file?
No, you'd probably want to check. Well,
There's a command SMB util, and then I think it's -a.
so man SMB util, and you'll get the flags. Okay. So SMB util, dat space, and then the shares.
Stat share space -a.
Okay. All right, giveaways from Mike's Baffling Vault of Antiquities. So I have a, if you weren't here earlier, a WWDC 07 shirt. I have several ancient posters, including a couple of Power Mac G3 posters. First tower that would do net boot. I think this one is the same. Yeah, so all three of those are G3. And then I've got a enormous Apple Cinema Display poster here for giveaway. And you're probably thinking to yourself, how am I going to get these on the airlines? I brought cardboard carrier tubes for you. So if you're not driving, you can still take them if you have any interest. So we'll draw the first name, and they will have first pick at what they want. Steve S. So you get first pick at what you want. If you don't want any of it, I understand, it's fine. I just thought it might make it a little more fun. It's double XL. Still in the bag. I haven't worn it, I promise. Okay. Let's see here. Parker. So you get your pick of either the Apple Cinema Display poster or a Power Mac G3 poster. All right, take a tube. All right, Jackass. Sorry. Jack. That's the Cinema Display one, and here's, I actually think they're all the, okay, excellent. Kurt. Okay. Yep, okay. Peter, do you want a G3? You're good too, all right. Does anybody actually even want one? Maybe I should start there. Eric is the next winner. Okay. One more to go. Let's see. Edward C. Okay. I can bring it to you if you want. Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry, I played offensive line. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much. I hope you got something useful, even if it was, I'm staying with ExtremeZ-IP. Thanks for the warning. With that, you're excused early.